Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to say something now, and I hope it doesn't scare you to the point of turning off the video. I want to talk about science. If trust me, I haven't talked about or thought about science since school. Not a strong point for me. Anyway, if you think back, I didn't do a very good job washing my hands. If you think back to science class, you'll remember that we, before embarking on an experiment of some kind, you had to come up with a hypothesis, a theory of some sort, and then you constructed or performed different experiments to try to prove or disprove, what your suspicions were going in. So, with that in mind, today's project is about using tissue paper to dye papers. So, my theory, my hypothesis going in was that dark, heavily pigmented papers would have the most color to release. Light colored papers would have less color to release, but may be more receptive to receiving color. I had seen this idea years ago, and I guess any of us old enough to remember decorating anything, like a parade float, for instance, with crepe paper, will remember that the minute the rain started, because it always rains on parade day, the colors would run. I suspect that if crepe paper was still available, and I see it occasionally in thrift stores, that the results may be even more immediate, dramatic than what I achieved here. So basically, I'll tell you what I did. I don't know, to be honest, if I will. Oh, maybe I can demonstrate it as well. I just will need to protect my surface. Anyway, I'll tell you what. Okay, I'd seen this idea in a book years ago, and I thought, well, okay, I need to keep coming up with content for this 100-day challenge. So let's give it a whirl. So basically, you start with a piece of paper, and I think they suggested, kind of a 9 by 12 size or whatever. I had these kind of one of these giant calendar desk pad. So I just tore it into quarters probably and began my base layer with that. And I did this on the kitchen island because, a bigger surface to spread out, a non-porous surface so I didn't have to worry about, ruining anything. And without overthinking, without predetermining or judging, okay, should I put a dark color first or a light color, or should I, how should I layer these things? Because, okay, these are the steps. You lay down your base paper. You know what? Instead of telling you, why don't I just show you? And then we'll look at the results I got earlier. So I created kind of a smaller, I'll use this to protect my surface. I'm doing this right after day 81. If you haven't seen it, I strongly suggest that you do. Number one, not only is the idea itself magnificent, but while cleaning the nozzle on this particular bottle of Distress Oxide, I sprayed myself in the face during the making of the video. And I dabbed it. First of all, I sort of shrieked. I couldn't believe that I had made such a rookie mistake, such a careless mistake. I was glad that I didn't get it in my eyes. I'm sure it probably has a toxic... are there any warnings on here? Adult use only. Oh, great. Has a cancer warning. May irritate eyes. Flush with plenty of water for at least 15 minutes. Anyway, I wear glasses, so I didn't get it in my eyes, but I did when I was able to conclude the video, because you know the show must go on. I went and checked myself out in the mirror, and I did have pigment on my cheek and sort of, you know, upper, I wouldn't say in my cleavage, but higher. Anyway, yeah, it's worth watching. And honestly, as it was drying on my skin, I did it, you know, I was aware it was there. So I don't think it, you know, really was an irritant as such, but it certainly was not a good thing to have happen. Okay, so again, I was working on a non-porous surface, my kitchen island. So the first thing you do, now I probably don't have enough water, but, oh, sorry. Maybe I could spray myself with water now. What you do is spritz your paper, and I think, you know, this first layer should be pretty thoroughly wet. That's not going to go very far. And then, without thinking, see, and another thing that the book suggested, now I haven't used this color before, so I'm going to lay it down. So then you lay down your piece of tissue paper. Oh, and I should say that I crumpled all of these. Some of them, in some of my little experiments, I did not. Then you spray again. And the only warning about this was not to have puddles. And you can see I didn't lay it down. You know, there's air under there. So I don't know if that's... maybe with the next layer I'll try to do... See, and that's the thing about science. There are all these variables. Was it cheap tissue paper? Was it artist grade tissue paper? And I know I definitely had some of that in here. Should I have squashed out the air bubbles to make sure there's good contact with the layer below? Okay, so I'm talking about variables. So then I'm just going to lay down another piece. And of course, in a perfect world, these would probably be more uniform in size. I should also tell you that I was so excited to do it that, like a fool, I didn't bother, you know, pre-cutting or pre-tearing anything. You know what? I'm going to try to lay this down with fewer air bubbles. So there are some pieces that you would swear I chewed instead of, you know, tore. So then I tried to be a little more grown up and patient when I did this, these for you. So I used kind of a tearing ruler. And as I said, I creased them all. And you can see how, like, I mean, I like the look of this just as it sits here. So basically, you know, you continue layering. And again, I'm not prejudging colors. When I was taking art classes at one point, and I don't know if that was something she said to the class or that was advice she had for me alone, was to buy a package of artist tissue paper. So it came... you know, there were many, many sheets, and it was laid out like the, sort of like the rainbow, except there were more than 8 colors. And basically the idea, oh, see, that's a lot of water. That's probably too much. Can't talk and spritz at the same time, apparently. So for instance, I know that this was one of those colors. This is another one of those colors. And this is another one of those colors, so it was very much gradations of color. Let's fold this, get this corner back. And I have to say that you're supposed to leave this until it's, still damp, but you obviously need to give it some time to have the colors mix as well. Or, transfer, or whatever they're going to do. In some cases, and it also says don't be disappointed with what you see when it's at that stage. Let it dry thoroughly. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I run out of water, I suppose. Now, of course, because I was just trying to get something that's going to fit in the frame and use up oddball pieces, some of these are not as big as others. And again, I'm not sure what those air bubbles do. Anyway, after that last video, I did go to the bathroom and wash my face and, put on the serum and moisturizer and all that. I have to say, it still feels a bit weird. So truly, you don't want to spray your face. You don't want to spray anything on your face, much less a product like that. So I've got a few more colors to go here. Again, we'll just... the other thing that that was suggested is wearing gloves. And I did when I did these prototypes earlier. But I have to say, there was no color transfer to my hands. So I don't know if this stuff is made of something different than it used to be, because that, I first saw this idea probably 25 years ago. And we know that everything, absolutely everything, has changed in that time. So anyway, yeah, you wait till it's just still a little bit damp, carefully, and of course, depends how careful you are, depends how poor the paper is, depends how patient you are. I ended up damaging a fair number of sheets as I tried to separate them. And then you spread them out and let them dry fully before you can see the actual effect of what you've done. So this is the last piece of paper that I have. So we will, and I'm sure the question that may be running through your mind is, okay, how long do you leave it? And I'm going to give you a totally useless answer and say it depends. It's going to depend on the paper you have underneath. So again, I just used this calendar paper. I could have probably tried watercolor paper. I could have tried, maybe a brown bag. But for better or worse, I tried like I said, the calendar paper. So it will depend on how warm your house is. It will depend on the humidity in the air. Now, again, I'm in Alberta. Above average temperatures. We do have air conditioning, but it's not actively running right this minute because the house isn't that hot yet. But Alberta also has a very dry climate. So take that for what it's worth. Okay, so these are the results. And I can barely see the changes right here, live and in person. So to be honest, I don't know what you're going to see. I can tell by this that there was some color transfer. Now, I only have one green here, so it was, I guess, the variation slightly darker. Look at that hangnail. Slightly darker and then lighter. I don't know, maybe how much of it made contact with the paper. I don't know. Let's move along. So, actually, this probably was the order in which I did it. I cannot see Maybe I should turn on some more light here. And I'll turn on this other one as well. Sorry, it's midday here. I didn't think I needed this. But maybe it'll show us something that we might not have seen otherwise. Okay, we can do surgery in here now. It's so bright. Don't see any change here at all. But that doesn't mean that these papers can't. Well, maybe there's a bit of. Okay, this obviously picked up. You know what? This isn't working. I need to do this often. Let me have a white background. Now we can see, yes, there was some transfer. Okay, let's start with the green one. So it looks a bit mottled. Now, is that a color transfer or is that where the color lifted from the green? Again, I don't have my lab coat on. I don't have my safety glasses on. I don't have my microscope. I'm not much of a scientist, so I don't know. And for our purposes, do we really care? I think most of us are more interested in the results than how we got there. And we will work with any happy accidents that we get. Now, in this first batch, I basically just took the paper, as I found it. Some were actually packages I had to open. You can see there's a bit of variation here. I think you can probably see various shades of pink and sort of almost purpley. I don't know where this came from. A light pink, obviously, but I can see shades of blue in there. Now, I just wonder if I, whoops. Oh, this tore off here, obviously. See, this is quite pretty. You can see I can see some blue and kind of mauve. I don't know. Maybe there's something here. It almost, and again, it's hard to, it has these orangey areas. So obviously, I will be using these papers, I guess, in collage, because, tissue is so fragile. I don't really see anything here other than there are probably some variations. You know what I should do? But again, it will be hard. I do have some untouched pieces. So maybe, but these are kind of creased. Okay, I don't have a purple one. Next time okay, so here, blue's coming up. So let's look at blue. Can we see any discernible difference? What I can see is some purple. There's none in this one. Now it's subtle, I have to say that. And of course, the color seems to have collected where the wrinkles are, where the creases are. Okay, here's another piece of paper. Very little color transfer here. Can I reconstruct what I did? This is probably not in order anymore, so I'm not going to try. Okay, this is yellow. This is yellow. Now, in this batch, I believe I wadded them all up, crinkled them all up. So you can see that there is a difference in these two. So that's good. This is red. And this is red. So I see a bit of I mean, it's so subtle. A bit of bluey, purpley. I would have thought that red would be one of those colors that would really transfer a lot of color. Green and green. This has variations in it. And of course, it also looks really nice. And again, it depends kind of how the light hits it. So maybe if I angle it a bit, you'll be able to see some of the subtleties. Just the texture alone is really nice. That's kind of the part that I really love. Purple. And again, this is how I tear things. Duh. This looks really nice. It seems to have a bluish cast to it as well. Oh, because blue is the next color coming up here. Now this blue must have, okay, so I can see a bit of green and a bit of purple. So this must have, maybe this was sandwiched between the two, or maybe the, this one is really in sad shape. But again, this kind of stuff is okay for collage. Quite a difference from this blue, from the original. Okay, let's speed this up a bit. Another piece of paper, virtually nothing happened, although it is really subtle, whatever. Look at this, though. So this would have been, this probably was this color to begin with. Remember I showed you the sort of the 3 gradations of color for that? Now that is something. Purple. I see, no, I don't know, maybe it's just the shadow that's being cast by these curly edges, but I don't know. I see nothing. This looks pretty cool. So you can see that there's some purple. And the wrinkling and the creases are nice. Looky here. So this is another one of those aqua, very light turquoisey papers. I see next to nothing in this pink. But look at this. Let me line up some more white paper here so we can see some of the best results. And this one. So I wonder why these work the best. What was that other one? Or is that it for the best ones? Well, there's that. That's pretty good. Does this do anything? Hard to tell. So it looks like if I'm going to ever do this again, there are some more successful combinations that work. Oh, and I got a little bit here. Yeah, that shows some color. So I guess this scientist would say that you need a combination of darker and lighter hued pieces so that the darker colors transfer to the lighter ones. Anything that might have happened to the darker colors is so incremental, so subtle, that it almost wasn't worth the effort to do it. Other than we tried, I tried, and I have this crinkly paper that looks kind of cool on its own. So red and red, green and green, light pink. I guess I would put down the light pink. Here's a yellow. The blue, maybe a disappointment. So I'm going to stop there. I would encourage you to try this. Now, I almost think that I have a roll of, but who knows what color it is, of tissue paper, not tissue paper, of crepe paper that may be worth trying as well. But definitely, these bottom few sheets were worth the time it took to do them. So I'm going to stop there. I don't know how many minutes. Okay, this has been a shorter one. Oh, maybe I should just pick that the one I spritzed in front of you. Let me pick that up and see if we can see anything happening. It's probably, it hasn't been obviously very long. I think that the ones I did in the kitchen probably sat for, I don't know, I would guess an hour. So, but let's see if anything has happened. Oh, okay. I don't think, I'm not going to separate these for real. I'm just going to see what we can see while leaving it a little intact for a little longer. Oh, look how beautiful that is. Oh my goodness. Looks like there's nothing there. But we'll leave it in place just so we have something white to look at. I cannot believe how gorgeous that is. I'm so glad I did this in front. And I have very little of this orange. Oh, but you know what? Or is it just us seeing it through? That's the sound of bitter disappointment. Well, okay, that's bloody misleading. That's the sigh of disappointment. But it hasn't been long. I'm going to take comfort in that. And I'm not going to lose hope yet. But because this is so thin, what would stop me after they're dry from gluing them together? Absolutely nothing. Okay, so I'll just kind of peel this back. Hard to tell where one be. Oh, here it is. Okay, you can see that this is picking up some of this. So you can see that if I didn't wet it kind of evenly, color can't very well transfer if it's dry, can it? And if there are a lot of air bubbles, that's not going to give you a very good result either. See, this is another one that could be fused. So this is pink. Oh, pink and green. It almost, well, it looks black, but of course I don't have any black here. Oh, you know what? Black tissue paper. Okay, so that's green. Oh, boy, that blue is thin. It's just tearing. You see that? Okay. I'm going to lay this stuff back down and let it finish processing, if we can call it that. There will be some good pieces out of this and some disappointments. But I have to say, I love how this looks. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's probably time for this little reminder. I have a 500 subscriber giveaway planned, but of course we've got a ways to go. Just closing in on 400. So if you can help me get there, that would be wonderful. And of course, that would, I'll have to think about, you know, who and how and what and when. But of course, that will also give you a chance to win something. Now, the name of the game, of course, is subscribing, giving me a thumbs up, liking, commenting, talking it up. Anyway, I will let you go and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.